This podcast is recorded on stolen and unceded Aboriginal land.
We acknowledge the First Nations and elders of this country and join their calls for justice. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Freedom. Yeah. Drama before the start of the 2025 Melbourne Cup of politics. The anti-fun teals and the Greens are refusing to enter the barriers. Their jockeys are carrying anti-racing placards. Who would believe that? The gates crash back and the race is on. Canning has gone hard and fast. Early, maybe a bit hasty. Ballarat and Hotham are building expectations, but nothing else. McMahon charging more and more. All wind, no power. Blowing hard but no energy. His chances of winning are net zero. Why are New England, Riverina and Chifley so far back? Word is New England may soon be changing stables. Baranoa safe for now, surrounding himself with stablemates. Farah trying hard, so too Fairfax. Leadership aspirants looming thick and fast. Canning still in the picture, Hume thereabouts. Goldstein and Hindmarsh fancy themselves. Lawler, Casey and Capricornia are cracking the whip. Come on, cheer them home. Graingler has a huge lead. Greenway laid down the law now. Corio steady, on the wrong course though, thought it was a golf course. Rankin wants to be leader, little chance. Birthday boy Watson wants to be in front, no hope. Senator Thorpe burning down the outside. Question time fast approaching and here comes the Speaker. Everyone's favourite, can he make it back to back? Speaker, question time, Speaker, the place is on fire, photo finish. Speaker!
This is the end.
Why the fuck is Michael McCormack doing a race call in Parliament on Melbourne Cup Day? Can you explain this to me? You know politics. What the fuck is going on? Why is it happening?
Well, question time, I've just decided anytime a politician gets in front of a camera, they just want attention. And it's a competition to see who can get the best social media grab. And this is a guy from the old country going, this will play well on Channel 9 or Channel 10. That's my thinking.
Apparently he does it every year. It's like a tradition now. And he works in all these little funny references to what's happening in politics at the same time. And it's just allowed. This is that $200,000 a year they're getting paid to try and address the issues of the Australian people. And this motherfucker is getting up and doing bits.
Well, you got to test your material where you can. You should know that. But I did smirk at the burn the house down Lydia Thorpe thing. I was like, well played.
It was pretty good. Senator Thorpe burning down the outside. That was the one I'll pay.
Yeah, that was right. I'll pay that.
He opened with, the anti-fun teals and greens are refusing to enter the barriers. Their jockeys are carrying anti-racing placards. Who would believe that? This doesn't even make sense.
I do love like the talking points that just keep coming up where it's more and more becoming, the Greens, the Teals, Labor, sort of everyone except us. It's not us that's the problem. It's everybody else.
They hate fun. The left hates fun, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, and then I was hearing that McCormack is obsessed with horse racing, but he never bets. He's never a punter, so to speak. And he just loves the game and the beautiful horses and the culture surrounding it, but never bothers to put down some of his own cash on these beautiful horses as they're exploited for profit.
Is he in recovery?
I don't know.
Okay, well, all right then.
Give us a call, McCormack, if you're listening.
24 years ago, Zohran would have been flying the plane into the World Trade Centers, and now you gave him the keys to the city.
We're stuck with the hosts of Chapo Shithouse podcast.
Serious danger to Australia.
All right. Oh my God, it's Serious Danger, a podcast about green politics in Australia. This is not an official Greens Party podcast. It's produced by Michael the Griffin. This is episode 201 as we enter a new era, a new dawn in the life of this wonderful podcast. Very excited to have you with us. I am Tom Ballard. I'm still here. I haven't betrayed the court. No, I'm joking. I'm on Kamilaroi country this week. I'm in Barnaby Joyce country. And I am delighted to be joined by a very special guest co-host. No doubt, if you're watching this, if you care about Australian politics, if you're on the internet, you are aware of Konrad Benjamin, a.k.a. Punters Politics. Hello, Konrad. Thank you for joining me.
Oi, Punters. Thanks, Tom. Good to be here. Just shooting the breeze with some fellow political nerds.
Woo! Woo! Yes. I want to be in one of those influencer articles that you and Hannah Ferguson are always in. I want to be cool like you guys.
Hannah and Abby always steal my thunder. They always get the photo. I get maybe a brief mention. I'm continually, routinely ignored by this machine. Get me on The Bachelor.
Are you a single man? Do you have a partner?
No, I am married, so maybe I'll need another show.
Jesus. All right, good. Shout out to Mrs. Punters. Konrad has had a very big week this week, which we will get into on today's show. Maybe, I mean, again, I'm sure lots of people are totally aware of your work and have seen your clips pop up. As briefly as you can, and I'm sorry, I'm sure you do this all the time. How do you summarize the general Punters politics vibes? What are you all about? What are your politics? Why do you do the kind of the work that you do talking about Australian politics?
Well, I think there's a few different levels to it. To the everyday punter, I make politics simple for the everyday punt. Trying to help people focus on what I think matters, what the things that if we all put our attention to can ungunk the democratic corporate sludge that have ground every bit of solution to a halt. And then on like the back end, on a more meta level, because I think I've got different people that engage. I have the people who love politics and have had these conversations with their friends. I'm sure you can relate, where you bring up a topic that you care about and everyone's like, yeah, but come on, mate. Like, yeah, but all right. I can see you're passionate about this, mate. And it's a bit patronizing. And there's that group of people who come up being like, oh, I send your stuff to all my friends. Thank you so much. And then I just get the regular Newcastle bogan punt in his Commodore Ute being like, oh, punter, yeah, mate, love your shit. Keep sticking it to him. So there's two different levels of like, and so on the other level, I feel like I'm trying to be my best political education platform, bringing people up to the bare minimum standard so that politicians can't keep getting away with the same BS they've been getting away with forever.
Yeah. And you've got this great origin story that you've, I know that you've shared a bunch of times. You used to be a economics teacher. You were teaching year 10 economics and you had a textbook and it sort of had a ranking of where Australia sit on a whole bunch of indicators. It was a little bit outdated. So you said, okay, kids, let's find out how Australia's gone in the 8 years since this textbook came out. And the kids went away and found out that Australia had gone backwards on every measure. Right.
With origin stories, I'm like, what is that origin story? Like I was looking at Gary's economics. I'm like, oh, that's a good story, man. He's the best trader in the world and he's come up with the solution. And I'm like, oh, I did an origin story and it's mostly true. But yeah, I kid you not, backwards on every metric because I think politics and good summary, by the way, I appreciate the good summary of the origin story being like, how'd you get into this? It's got to be interesting. But that's me being kind of a little bit interested in politics, not really, but I think my interest in politics began when I realized how simple it was, where you can literally, like if you want to cut through the tribal BS of like, here's my team, I'll cheer for them no matter what. I just want to know who's the best at, like, how was ScoMo? And this is the year of the ScoMo, the Abbott, the Liberal Party decade of darkness we were in. I was like, you can look at rankings. You can see how well we've gone. And you can just objectively measure this stuff. And that's what was shocking, that we went backwards on everything. And then, I was just like, hey, MP, what the bloody hell do you want me to tell him? And for me and to the kids, everything was clear. Profits are up. Everything else is going great for the rich punts and the monopolies that control Australia, but everything else is going backwards.
Did you say the rich punts or the rich cunts? Are they still punters if they're super rich? Is that the deal? What is a punter? Yes. I think this is a key question.
I think a punter is everyone, and I think I say even rich punts because they are part of this society too. And if they get their way, they're losers as well. Like they lose in a society where the economy, like if rich punts listen to me, they will have even more money because the economy benefits for everyone. When the distribution and the economy cycles and there's money flowing around, when they hoard all the cash, they actually do worse off as well. Then they have to go buy bunkers in New Zealand and like pay their security guards more because security guards realize we could take this bunker anytime we wanted. It's a dumb play for them as well.
Fair enough. And I see you sort of define yourself as, issues focused, non-partisan necessarily. And would it be fair to say, and you sort of talked about your audience is overwhelmingly millennials, overwhelmingly dudes. I think a lot of tradies listen to you. You might relate to the kind of language, the way you frame things and talk about punters and stuff. And so would it be fair to say that young people or Are millennials still young people? I guess so. The under 40s, the 45s and unders.
We're really drawing that bar high to slip under, aren't we?
As I get older, the definition of young person moves with me. But, yes, obviously pissed off at the system, disaffected, unable to enjoy and access the same kind of level of economic security as our parents' generation before us, but seem much less partisan wedded to a certain political party, certainly, a loss of faith in the politics as usual sort of system, and are much more open, I suppose, to sort of getting all over the map and voting lots of different ways, I suppose, or being open to different policy proposals regardless of where they come from. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. That's my hope, is that, and I guess this is the framing in the society that we live in, this consumer capital driven, profit driven. There's no coincidence that the way I frame everything is around economics. It's around money. It's around profit. It's around us getting ripped off, because I think that's the language everybody speaks. And I think right now that's the most potent language of saying to people, and trying my best to, people will see tribes wherever they see tribes. And if they can stick a label, the label and the tribalism is the easiest way to dismiss a side without engaging with what they're saying. And I think I'm trying to appeal to like the best of capitalism that says competition will sort this out. Competition is the thing that will make everyone compete and we'll get a better product in the end, because in some cases we do get that. So when it comes to policies, I keep saying, I don't care if Barnaby Bloody Joyce himself wakes up from a stupor on the side of the road in Canberra and suddenly says, I think we should tax our gas. I think we should tax our resources. I will back him. I honestly do not care. I don't think it will happen, but that's the key bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's how I want to approach this stuff, so that I can just say to people, you can change my mind. I'm trying to be transparent with how I approach politics as well, being like, you can change my mind on anything. Just show me how this is going to happen and who's got the policy and where that leads. And then that gives, it also acknowledges the way political parties shift over time. So the Labor Rusty from 20 years ago, I saw that also. I saw a great meme from Batuta, which was, referencing Mamdani, which maybe we'll talk about later, where it's like, I can't remember what the caption was, but it compared it to Bill Shorten, 2019. And I was like, oh, shit, that's true. Like, it made me so sad when Bill Shorten goes with his agenda to the 2019 election or wherever it was. And he was offering some similar, like getting rid of franking dividends, like starting to sort out some of this like entrenched issues. And Australia just went, yeah, nah.
Interesting. Was Bill Shorten Zohran Mamdani? I really hope that's not the case. I got to tell you, Konrad, that'll make me even more depressed.
It's the closest we ever came.
Oh, okay, that's wrong. That's definitely incorrect. There's definitely been a more robust social democratic agenda being put out there than
was like so close to being put through.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to go back to, I think the Whitlam agenda in terms of the transformation of society that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And of
Whitlam
course,
was our Mamdani.
Mamdani, yes. Yeah, it just happened 50 years ago, I suppose, yeah. But then, I mean, again, maybe you'll just accuse me of using labels and simplifying things here. But I mean, do you have thoughts about like socialism? Would you identify as a socialist or at least an anti-capitalist? Or do you think that there's a version of capitalism that can work that's been corrupted? How do you feel about those kind of issues?
I think I am I would.
You're a punter.
Anything,
you're a punterist. That's your ideology.
I'm a punter. I'm a punterist. Anything that is a public good.
Yes.
Should be like, I go to wherever it is the data shows it's the most efficient and most equitable distribution of whatever that is.
Yep.
So when I think the problem with the socialism label and the democratic socialism label and all the labels that people have, it's a branding that I think is a loser branding. I think it has been so propagandized against that Tim Wilson recently tried to call me a communist just because that's kind of all he sort of had. And I'm like, no. So me pointing out your vested corporate interest is suddenly communism. So these are the labels that I think you get attracted to. And that's why I kind of resist them as much as I can and redefine them so that people know what I'm talking about. So when I say like we should have a government bank to compete with these F-off for things too big to fail that are siphoning our economy. They're literally killing our economy because all they lend to is houses and there's no small business loans anymore and all those sorts of things. Like there are big problems with this sort of banking system. And I can show you data that would say if we had a government bank competing with these guys, our economy would be healthier. People could try call that socialism because I'm saying for a government option in the market. Same with public housing. It needs to compete with the private market, just like our medical system. You could say that. But then I guess people just hear, you want to have the government control and divvy up everything in our lives. And I'm like, no, I don't personally think anyone is arguing for that. But that's what you're always reduced to.
Yeah, which is so frustrating because things that people love in this country, like our public healthcare system and our public education system, are broadly uncontroversial. But it seems if you start to question the status quo or point out the fact that Commonwealth Bank was a publicly owned bank for a very long time before it was privatized,
and you
still can't cut through with that. It's very frustrating. It's so demoralizing how our ability to reckon with the changes to the status quo and to try and paint a picture of how things can be better is often dismissed as crazy talk. Because people are so used to things getting worse, I guess.
And I think my approach is just a new approach to go, let's all come together and realize you bloody love Medicare and you would bloody love a public housing option where if I just wanted somewhere good, like the reason why I don't have private healthcare because I'm just done. I don't know. I just really hate it. And I'm just like, I hate the government's like fining me with a higher tax they're like forcing, it's the most, you want to talk socialism, Tom? Socialism is when the government is forcing me to give my money to some private bloody insurance company.
Right.
And then they cry when the private insurance companies go, oh, boo-hoo, young people aren't buying our coverage. We won't be viable. Good, because the public option is good enough for me. Piss off. Either provide a product that I want that you're convincing me to pay for, but don't use the government to come in and slap me with a stick to force to. I'd rather personally give my money to the government for Medicare because I like Medicare. I think it's good. I think everyone should have it. I don't know, bit of a rant tangent there, but you're right. Like people love this stuff. And my attempt is to reframe it without the decades of propaganda because I think propaganda works. I think Sky News works. It functions really well and they provide people with great shortcuts to give them easy political tribes to then go, oh, like this new thing's come along. What do I think about it? The propaganda machine says, you think this about it. They go, yeah, true. I don't have to think about it anymore. Great, more brain space for something else. Move on. And I'm trying to reapproach that and say, as much as everyone quote unquote hates socialism, but geez, taxing our gas seems pretty bloody popular.
Right. Well, maybe we need a rebrand. But I mean, I would argue that the Zohran Mamdani story is about someone who unashamedly taking on that label, identifying as a democratic socialist and not being scared of what that means, explaining what that means, showing what that means through his campaign and sort of saying, I mean, again, people called Bill Shorten a communist. They're going to call you this shit anyway. You may as well be honest and upfront about what you believe and why. And Mamdani shows that the democratic socialism can win in New York City, the financial capital of the fucking world.
Well, I guess they just have too many support workers supporting the rich financial system that also exists there that says that. Because I think with labels, it gives too much license for interpretation. That's what I think. And I think it's easier to have a conversation where we go, oh, we talking housing? Great. Because I've just had my whole platform and my whole political journey has been me A/B testing conversations.
Right.
And A/B testing what works, what doesn't, how to speak someone's language, how to find their values and appeal to it. There's a reason why I would personally lean harder into I'm a capitalist angle because I think that's the language that everyone operates on. And I think there is the language of capitalism that has more social license, that when I say I want to tax gas, I'm a capitalist. Where's my dividend? The government invested in that. They invest in like the infrastructure, the roads, the courts, everything. I invested in that. Where the F is my dividend? And so there is this element of however you describe this sort of stuff, whatever's more salient, I'm just trying to communicate to the best policy that is for the best for the most amount of people.
Interesting. Well, we'll keep this conversation going. No, that's right. This is a safe space for various views. But you are a capitalist dog. And after the revolution, you'll be first against the wall. All right. We want to say...
Second at least.
Second. All right. Gina, then you. Speaking of dividends, we want to thank our patrons of the show who support Serious Danger by patreon.com/SeriousDangerAU. We love you. Thank you for being Danger Dogs. Laura, Anna Banana, and David, thank you very much. For just $3 a month, you can get bonus content and a bonus episode every fortnight, or you can do the year-long supporter model thing. Thanks very much to people who are doing that. We're investing in the long term for great ROI on Serious Danger content. Thank you so much to everyone who came to our 200th live show in Melbourne last week. It was an amazing weekend. It was awesome to have everyone there. If you become a Danger Dog, you can hear the Gruen style section in which we went through political ads with Will Anderson, picked them apart, had a bit of a laugh. And of course, Emerald Moon remains on the show on the Patreon feed. So if you want to keep Emerald Moon in your life, go to patreon.com/SeriousDangerAU and just pay us $3 a month. You'll get that access.
Thank you, everyone, for coming together as punters and politicians, because there are some in the room, to celebrate legalised corruption. We spend a lot of time worrying about all the illegal corruption in our politics, but tonight we want to pay a special tribute to the unsung heroes, all the hard-working people out there who are corrupting our democracy within the rules. We're obviously talking about lobbyists. Give it up for the lobbyists, everybody. Come on, let them hear it. They're in Canberra, let them hear it. Which brings me to why we are here. My favourite, totally legal and heaps normal way to gain special access to politicians is to pay tens of thousands of dollars to attend a business forum or a fancy dinner just like this one, so that you can gain special access to your politicians. So we here at Punters Politics, we looked at this incredible system of legalised corruption of the Australian political lobbying, and we thought, we've got to get in on that, all right? Because if you can't beat them, let's join them. And that's what we are doing right now. So it's great to see regular punters finally able to purchase access to their politicians, just like billionaires and gas executives who have spent many hours secretly lobbying our politicians in this very hotel room. So tonight, throughout the course of the night, we will be accepting money from wherever we can get it. And we're using it to fund a lobbyist for our funding a lobbyist to lobby for our direct interests. And best of all, it's totally legal and obviously heaps normal. Thank you. One person enjoyed that. And that's me for the... So, call me old-fashioned, but I think our politicians should be working for we the punters and not them, the foreign-owned mining cartels. So thank you so much for coming. Enjoy the food and drink up. Lobby a politician if they're near you, because you have paid special access to get special access to them. Punters, here's to democracy. Cheers.
Okay, let's talk lobbying. You had a very big week this week, Konrad. On Tuesday night in Canberra at the QT Hotel, you hosted the first of many, I assume, Punters People's Lobbyist Fundraising Dinner. What the hell was this? What was the thinking? Tell us all about it.
Well, the Punters Politics Political Fundraiser brought to you by Heaps Normal.
Yes.
This is capitalism, baby. If democracy is for sale, we are putting in a bid. Essentially, the whole point, well, 2 points to it. One was to raise money to get our own lobbyists to put them into Parliament House so that we have one more lobbyist, 2,000 lobbyists, most of them unregistered, wandering around Parliament House.
Yep.
Well, let's add one more. Obviously, this is a scam, and the biggest scam was the dinner and how this works. Polling just released by YouGov shows that just shy of 7 out of 10 Aussies call cash for access corruption. That is literally where lobbyists, corporations, ex-politicians, they pay $100,000 a year to be part of the Federal Labor Business Forum or the Liberal Party, whatever bloody hell they call it. The Nationals have one as well. It's a club
Stonecutters
that says
Society. Yeah, the evil incorporated. Yes,
evil corp. if you pay this much money, and like the emails, people have sent them to me, like insiders who receive them. I saw one from Nuclear Ted O'Brien, and he was like, putting it out there, being like, dinner with Ted O'Brien, price on request. And then the person who I was connected with was like, yes, what is the price? It was like $5,000.
Wow.
Like our politicians are literally pimping themselves out because you can't get a meeting. And then someone else told me, this is all hearsay from the inside, when I'm like, you guys should really just be open about this sort of stuff.
Yep.
This person couldn't get a meeting with Jim Chalmers. And then whichever staff or whoever was literally saying, but if you buy a ticket to this dinner, you will be able to chat with him. That is corruption. And it's like just shy of 7 out of 10 punters will call it corruption.
Yes.
And that was the whole point of the dinner, was to go, well, if they can do it, let's do it too. This is just a big scam. This is just a big joke. How can I show as many people as possible that, in my opinion, this is the root cause of why nothing gets fixed. This is the root cause of the brokenness of our democracy. We can fight all we want about whatever issue people want to fight about, but the winner's still not getting their policy through. And this is why.
Yeah. Yeah. On Floodcast, which is a podcast featuring a whole bunch of Queensland Greens comrades, including Max Chandler Mather. Excuse me. I was listening to it recently, and he talks about, the idea that is presented that Parliament House is a place where people go to hash out ideas, right? We have a marketplace of ideas, and people are competing of different ideas to try and solve the problems facing the country. And, if your idea is really good, then it's going to win. And he's just like, that's just not what it's about. It's not about solving problems at all, because you could have the best idea in the world, but if you don't have thousands of dollars to attend one of these goddamn dinners to sit next to the Treasurer or the Prime Minister, you're at a disadvantage. And they're bad ideas, which is keep us doing whatever the fuck we want in order to protect our profits, is always going to win out, right?
I was actually shocked at how I was shocked myself at how effective it was. I went to the midwinter ball.
Yeah.
And I sat at Bridget McKenzie's table.
Yes.
And we had a good chat, a good yarn. I was like, come on the podcast. We're having a bit of a disagreement. She's a great, I respect Bridget McKenzie's ability to back what she's selling.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of politicians won't. They'll say it, they'll put it out there, but they won't engage. They won't fight for it. You come on a podcast and you fight me for your dumb idea, and but you have to back it if you're going to push it. And I feel like Bridget does that. But I managed to have a chat with her. I met a lot of politicians in person, and that soft power, when I hit her up to be like, hey, come to the Punters Politics Political Fundraiser, which is taking the piss out of literally how your party does it as well. Labor didn't rock up, Liberal didn't rock up. We had some Greens and Independents rock up. But, no one else who really does it rock up. And it was that soft power when I'm talking to these politicians and getting connected. I don't even know how to describe it, but it is literally seeing somebody, getting to know somebody. It's soft power. And now I have more
valuable
access.
FaceTime, yeah.
Yes, I honestly have now more access because I have met them. I've spoken to the staffers. I'm having a good chat. They kind of know. I'm like, they get more of a sense of me, and I've bought myself more access, even though I was saying this is all a joke. And that's why it needs to stop, because it literally works for me. So what do you think it's working for with these absolute bludgers getting in the ear of these politicians passing rules that just enrich the rich punt corpse?
It's crazy. And, Bridget McKenzie came to your dinner on Tuesday night. Again, more evidence of your influence over federal politicians.
Look at how much power I have, Tom. Look.
You can get her to come to your cool dinner thing. I mean, and these dinners aren't really, they're not disclosed, right? Or it's not like we have guest lists publicly available of what these dinners are at, or of course we don't know what people talk about. I mean, we don't even have access often to ministers' diaries and stuff. I know that's an ongoing fight to try and get them released at the federal level. But yeah, it's just sort of all these rich and powerful people having to be in a room. Maybe they probably don't talk about the ins and outs of specific legislation at the dinner table, right? No one's getting out a bill and being like, let's cross this out. But yes, that access, that FaceTime, that influence, obviously pays dividends. Otherwise, these for-profit companies wouldn't pay thousands of dollars to go to the fucking dinners if they didn't think they were getting a return on it.
Well, it's even worse than that. And we live streamed the whole thing, and you can watch the live stream on YouTube. And Josh Sheps had the convo with Helen Haynes, Allegra Spender, David Pocock, and Bridget McKenzie. And Josh did a great job at unpacking stuff that I didn't even realize. There's this news article by, I think, the Fin Review that talks about the $15,000 a head dinner or something that the Labor Party Business Forum put on. And the only reason we know that Jim Chalmers went and Tanya Plibersek went and all the heavy hitter ministers was that they were photographed going into the hotel.
Right.
That's the only evidence we have that they went. Because when someone FOI'd it and said, can you tell us who went to this event? All the info back was, no, they were attending as private citizens. So any documents.
Fuck off.
Yeah. Like they were saying it's not pertinent to whatever. So what? You just want to hang out with Jim because he tells bloody good jokes and not that he's the treasurer of the country? Like this is, and it's so boring and it's so in the detail of the weeds. But obviously political nerds like yourself know how outrageous that is.
Right.
I'm just like, how do I communicate this to everyday Aussie punters? Because if they know exactly how sinister this move is, they would call it for what it is, which is blatant corruption, and they wouldn't stand for any politician that does not come out and condemn and get rid of this as soon as possible.
God, Jesus. It's the George Carlin line. It's a big club and you ain't in it. But that's wild. I did see
exactly right.
I didn't get to watch the full interview with Josh and the panel, but I did see one clip that sort of was doing the rounds, which was Bridget McKenzie. I mean, again, I have respect for her for turning up to this. It was not the most friendly crowd. I think she was heckled at one point. But she was sort of defending her membership to the Chairman's Lounge. She sort of said, this is a membership that most federal policies take up from Qantas to be a member of the Chairman's Lounge. But she's like saying, no, I mean, look at what we're doing. We're taking down Qantas. We're exposing them on the guitar deal. So this shows, at least the argument she was making, she's like, okay, you take the money, but you've still got to hold these companies to account. Yeah. Is that sort of a fair summary of the argument she was prosecuting there?
Yeah, that's exactly the argument, which is once again why I respect Bridget for coming on and prosecuting what I believe to be a ridiculous argument. And Josh in that convo, as it goes on, he outlines, well, there was incentive for you being the shadow transport minister to call this out because it makes Labor look terrible. Yes. So in clear language, it would be if there's no advantage, Qantas has the leg up.
Yeah.
But as soon as you can buy more electoral advantage by selling Qantas out, and that's a rare case where everyone hates Qantas. So that you've got a lot of points, a lot of political points by burning this bridge. So you're going to burn it. But if there's no political points because it's under the radar, no one's heard about it, it's too complex, no one understands it, that person that you're getting perks from, that corporation, they get the advantage.
Yeah. But also these issues only come to light when there's some kind of scandal around a corporation. I always think about with the influence of lobbying and the cash for access, all the stuff that never comes to the surface, all the options that are never considered, all the policy options that are completely off the table because no one's going to bring it up because everyone knows who fucking butters their bread. And of course, we're not going to have that conversation. I mean, also, I think cash for access is also a way to just sort of protect the ideas that we would never sort of venture into a certain policy solution to address, say, inequality in this country because, capital, the forces of capital have flooded Canberra with so much money and access and lobbying FaceTime that's just never going to happen in the first place, right?
Yeah, and it stops democracy from working. And I think the consequences of that are dire. Like my greatest fear was that Albo would get in unchecked and do nothing. Those, in my opinion, are when people vote to fix problems and you expose yourself as being wholly beholden to the same forces, everyone loses faith and all it takes is a charismatic person from a more fascistic leaning.
Yeah. And
people, I think regular punters, they just think change, non-change. That's what they think. They think, and that's what I think Trump lent heavily into. Yeah. And I understood it back in 2016. Part of me was like, listen, I'm sick of this. I might have voted Trump for different reasons. Right. Burn it to the ground. Yeah. That might have been I'm sick of this. Burn it to the ground, rebuild, because the slow slide into oblivion ends us there anyway. Yeah. And the gradual boiling of the water might just be worse than a very up to 10 really hot, because you might pull your hand out when it gets hot quick. I don't know.
Something interesting might happen. And I'm sure people who listen to this podcast and are broadly on the progressive left in Australia still continue to get Frustrated by this. I get frustrated with this. Pauline Hanson is fucking giving a speech at Mar-a-Lago at the personal casino of a fucking billionaire, and yet is still able to present herself as a battler, as someone speaking up for ordinary Australians. Like, how do those two contradicting thoughts exist in people's heads at the same time? But you're right. It's
branding,
just like,
Tom.
Yes,
branding.
Very good branding.
It's good branding. That's honestly all it is. If Trump can be the hero of the Aussie battler while enriching himself by 10 or whatever, around $10 billion in the last 6 months off the back of being connected to crypto companies and taking checks from, like, it's crime is legal now.
Yes.
But because he says the right things, he signals the right way, he has a strong brand presence around him, he has a broken system that he can keep pointing to and say, well, they did it too. And people can't determine quite well about, Joe Biden did it. Or every president ever sells themselves out and makes heaps of money off the back of being president after they do it as well. And people just, it's the nuance that I think is hard for people who don't pay attention to this stuff full time to just see the scale of it. And they go, well, it's all the same because it's too hard and I don't give a shit. And I really empathize with that, because I don't think people need the level of political literacy that sort of I have. I don't think we should have to have that as politics. We should be able to trust our politicians. And unfortunately, we all have to switch on because they're screwing us.
Yeah, but yes, you don't need to be a political genius or read the newspaper to realize that rich people have outsized influence on Australian politics and dictate how society runs. Like, I think everyone knows that a system in our society is in many ways rigged for the rich,
Yeah, but you do have to be a political genius to realize that the propaganda channels, the Sky Newses and the Murdoch, and exactly how good they are at propaganda. Like, I learned it again this week. Like, I know everything you've just said, but I learned it again this week. I did as much spectacle as I could, Tom. I got some polling done, right? I made sure there was polling so the news would pick it up. It was evocative. It's corruption. 8 out of 10 Aussies want this cash for access to stop. I did a press conference with a politician in front of all the cameras. I had cardboard cutouts and lights. And Barnaby Joyce falls over on the bloody football field, and that's the story that runs. That's the story. And then interest rates. Oh, what's going to happen with interest rates? I was in the Channel 9 newsroom getting a little bit of a tour, and they were just like, yeah, interest rates happened and Barnaby and net zero and stuff. They're not doing this net zero stuff because they know it's going to work. They're doing it because it controls the entire conversation. Status quo is winning for them. They don't have to win net zero. They have to keep us from talking about the stuff that I might be trying to draw attention to, which is cash for access or, resources being given away for free. That's the game, and they are winning even now.
All right, now, full disclosure, I was helping you out with a few jokes for the dinner, and of course, everyone wants to know, how'd it go? Did we kill?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was the one that let the team down a little bit. I was so swamped. I was so swamped with prep and things. So I was stoked to have a few good lines written by someone who knows what they're doing.
You were good. You were very good. I think Albanese putting in a shift at Rio Tinto. He wasn't. Albanese couldn't be here tonight. He's putting in a shift at Rio Tinto. I felt like that went pretty well.
Yeah. I think most of it went pretty well.
In researching that and putting together some thoughts for your opening remarks, I was pretty blown away by some of the basic facts that we might just run through here quickly. So in terms of registered lobbyists in Canberra, there are 700 individuals, 360 organisations representing 2,500 clients. More than 40% of registered lobbyists have been identified as former government representatives, including former government staffers and ministers. So that's the revolving door that we all know and love. In Australia, the cooling off period, that is you finish working in a particular area in government, you have to have a period in which you can't work in that industry relevant to the area that you're working on in government. In other countries, the cooling off period is up to 5 years long. In Australia, it's just 18 months. But also, it seems like even that isn't enforced, right? Don't we have ministers leaving and getting a job within 9 days?
There's no consequences.
Yeah,
there's no consequences whatsoever. When they fail to declare a gift, you could be given a golden egg from Dubai. And if they fail to declare it, it doesn't matter. There's no consequences, Tom. This is when politicians say, "Oh, but the code of conduct."
The code of conduct.
There is no consequences for breaking it.
Yes. This year, Guardian Australia revealed that not a single lobbyist has been formally sanctioned under the federal government's Code of Conduct and Transparency rules since January 2023, despite there being more than a dozen breaches.
There you go.
So that's good stuff. But that's just people on the register. And this, I think, is the really remarkable thing. Our lobbying register only covers third-party lobbyists. Okay, so that's people who lobby on behalf of a third party. So if you work for a firm, like a lobbying firm, like Hawker and Britton or whatever, the client engages you to lobby the politician. Okay, that third-party lobbyist, they're the only ones covered by our register system. So everyone else, like in-house lobbyists, if you work for Qantas in like their government relations department or whatever, you are not considered you don't have to be registered as a lobbyist, because the logic is that your interests are going to be so obvious that we don't need to put you down onto the register, and you don't need to abide by the code of conduct. And that's why 80% of the lobbying industry isn't on the register, which means there are more than, as you mentioned, 2,000 unregistered lobbyists just walking around Parliament, getting heaps of access. They get sponsored with passes from sitting MPs. We have no idea who sponsors those passes. They're not required to let us know that. That is the kind of insane dark money, dark lobbying world that goes completely unregistered and completely unscrutinized, right?
Yep. And it is, unfortunately, so bad, but so boring. I've tried to communicate this so much, and every Instagram reel where I try and really spell it out, like, hey, you're not in the party because you're not paying. You can't get into that room. You're not a lobbyist. It's, engagement rates at half. And I'm like, honestly, Aussie punters, you fix this, you fix democracy. This is, you don't want to pay attention to politics? Don't. Pay attention to this. This will fix it. This is my pitch to everyone. I see some comments from some angry lefties in my comments, drilling me with the dirty slur of, he's a bit centrist, isn't he? Oh, bloody, got him. I hear you.
Yeah.
If we all can come together and solve this, like I said before, whoever wins the war, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that you won't get your piece of legislation you wanted. This is what everyone has to come together to solve first. And I will do whatever I can to make it as interesting, as exciting as I can.
So like someone like Bridget McKenzie, okay, clearly she thinks that some reform is required, but she was trying to mount the argument that lobbying isn't as bad, or the influence isn't as strong as evidenced by their position on Qantas, which we've mentioned as to why that's a silly argument. But is she up for some kind of reform? Do you hear from people on the right of politics who do think that there should be some restrictions? Do they support pushes by the likes of David Pocock and other Teals and the Greens to sort of increase transparency and keep an eye on this stuff?
I would be open to fact checks on this, but I don't think like the Nationals or Bridget McKenzie ever have done anything formal to ever come against it. And I think there's different phases people go through, and this is how far we have to go. And like, let's look at climate legislation to, or stopping mining cartels from opening more and more stuff that they're just going to export overseas and we don't get any money for. You start with the denial and then you fight against it, try and win. Then you go, okay, we can't win this. So now we'll just do the optics. This is what I think, quote unquote, woke has always been. It's been corporations. The best critique of woke that the right wing have is that it's corporations virtue signaling and doing nothing. That's what it is. And that's toxic in itself, because let's look at the Labor Party. Oh, yes, we're going to do all of this amazing sort of stuff. Oh, what side would you like that? Yep, off you go, open it. We won't charge you anything for it. Wait, like we won't say, look at the environmental legislation. Oh, like it's actually not going to make it more difficult. Then what's the point? What's the point? But we're saying the right things, Tom. And I think that's potentially where Bridget might be in my cynicism. Sorry, Bridge. In my cynicism towards, she can say things like, yeah, I want more transparency. I'm happy to come to these events. Yeah, I think cash for access is a bit of a problem. But will Bridget stand next to me at a press conference and say, I want this to end and there's a bill in the House that is going to end it? I wouldn't take a punt on that. I don't think she would. Whereas Pocock does and did stand next to me and say, and he did put his money where his mouth is and start a register that exposed everyone that he gave me my lobbying pass.
That's good transparency. And then what are the other arguments? I mean, like, again, it's hard to sort of take many of them seriously because, of course, they involve people protecting their own self-interest, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
But people would say, well, there's lots of different lobbyists they're not all corporations, and NGOs and community groups, they also need to lobby and try to get access to politicians. I'd be interested in your thoughts on that. And also about, whether we envisage a system in which we should be able to differentiate between Woodside and Greenpeace and say, no, these are actually different organizations with different interests and a different level of public interest attached to their lobbying efforts. What would you say to that?
Yeah. And the thing I think everyone has to be careful of doing, because it happens in every political conversation I have with anyone, is the playbook they have to maintain status quo is to show how complicated it is. But yes, there are other lobbyists, and Greenpeace are lobbying too. And Bridget also brought up, Greenpeace are lobbyists as well and all those things. I don't think Greenpeace are on the same level as Rio Tinto or Woodside or Yancoal or foreign-owned billion-dollar corporations that turn over $60 billion in revenue a year. I don't know if there would be the same access. So they complicate it and go, well, you can't ban lobbying because the knitting nanas are also doing their lobbying efforts.
Fuck off.
You see how cynical it is? Whereas I'm always trying to come back to, one, nothing stopping us from making a rule that says if you have more than $1 billion in turnover, you must adhere to this set of rules. Right. And if you are just a community group with less than X amount, you have this set of rules. Pretty bloody simple stuff to do. Nothing is stopping what the independents are pushing through and Pocock's pushing for, which is open your effing diaries. That'll be a big step.
Yeah,
I'm sure that the knitting nanas have no issues with being exposed about how many meetings they don't get with Jim Chalmers. But I'm certain Jim Chalmers might be a little bit coy about how many meetings he might have had with Goldman Sachs, maybe lining up a future gig like Josh Frydenberg got. Like this is there's so many simple things that everyone can agree with, but they will try and complicate it and say, it's a tricky thing. How are you gonna sort that out? And that's where obviously you say this is the piece of legislation and there's nothing wrong with it.
And we obviously see that those same sort of arguments and concerns being rolled out when it comes to donation reform as well, right? So this obviously goes hand in hand. Lobbying in terms of getting direct access to represent your interests to politicians. That's one way of doing it. The other way is just give a shitload of money to the political party which people belong to. Now, I know we had the donation reforms in the last parliament to some degree, but they're not great, right? I mean, they did introduce some caps, and I know that the independent movement was particularly annoyed and felt like it would disadvantage them, and there was a pretty good critique to say that this was basically to protect the two-party system. But where's sort of donation reform in this conversation as well? Corporations, businesses, individuals donating directly to our major parties, and that obscuring their acting on our behalf as well.
Well, you'll be shocked, not really, at how cheap our politicians are. Yes. The Nationals are bought out they just literally got a policy written by whichever industry funded their study. Like it's directly funded by industry for them to come up with their energy policy. Oh, no way. Energy company gets a policy that gives us billions of dollars. Good idea. They got bought out. You look at how much they take. It's like $60,000.
Oh, man.
So the money isn't even really the issue. It's that combination of money is like, take this tiny treat that we will give you. If you don't take it, we have a massive stick called Rupert Murdoch that we will smack you with every single day until we get our way. That's like the other big stick. And then there's the revolving door of the personal interest going, but Mark McGowan, come work for 3 mining cartels after making the rules for them. And he's like, well. And so all of that together, and I think in my more pessimistic days, it's donation reform. It's kind of, I don't know if it's worse that it did happen because they water it down by calling it donation reform. Like, what the fuck's that? Like, this is partly why I've kind of narrowed in on a branding thing of cash for access.
Yeah. Because
the solution is bloody simple. You stop this shit. You don't have cash for access reform. How about we just put a cap on about you can only pay $100 or like, no, you stop it. Everyone wants you to stop it. You have to stop it. Whereas with donation reform, it is bloody complex because you do have independents that rely on people donating to get up and compete with the propaganda machines that they literally have slush funds bottomless pits of slush funds that for some reason aren't covered in this donation reform. Like, it literally did nothing. Like, if you look at the caps, the cap was put above the entirety of the donations that they received at the last election cycle.
Jesus Christ.
Like, they were the caps. They're like, we won't spend any more than we already did. Like,
we're cracking down on this by letting us have slightly more money.
Yeah. But then it has to take some political nerd level, because I had to talk to someone who was some university professor nerd who I was like, can you explain this to me? Is it good or bad? Like, Malinowskis sounds so good when he says, we've banned cash for access, but I know there's something sinister going on. But even I, as a political nerd myself, can't understand it.
Yes, gosh. But good to be cynical, though, I think. If a politician is saying, don't worry, everyone, we've solved this thing, do more reading. That's my advice.
Do more reading.
Yes.
Oh.
All right, final question on this. I mean, yes, how is the people's lobbyist really going to work? So the idea is that you're raising enough money to pay someone for a year, right, to be a representative for the punters, to lobby our politicians on their own interests. Of course, one would argue that is exactly what their fucking job is. So this is bizarre, but there you go.
It is bizarre.
How's that all going to work? Have you figured out who this person is? Have you got enough money? What's it going to look like?
Okay, one, do we have enough money? No. Have you seen the salaries of these guys? They literally get $500,000 a year to do this sort of stuff because it's the connections that they bring. So do we have enough money? No. But do we have enough for 1 or 2 days a week? Probably. Yep. Can we pay in moral fortitude and absolving you of your sins of being a lobbyist? Yes, we can. Okay. So we are putting the call out to anyone and anyone who has any connection with any lobbyist ever. I'm hoping for, and honestly, it's probably going to be a bloke because I'm looking for ex-tobacco, ex-gambling, ex-mining. I presume most of those are blokes just from the demo that it might be coming from.
Right.
I want someone who wants absolution for their sins. Whoever that is, we can pay them in making them feel better about, yes, you lobbied for a gambling cartel that destroys lives for your career, but you're feeling bad about it now. I will forgive you on behalf of the punters if you come to us and help us. Because what we really want, obviously one more lobbyist isn't really going to turn the tide, but I want to show people how it works. I want a lobbyist telling me, even I don't know, the little back-end connections that they have. Oh, I know this person, I know this person. Hey, I met with this person in the lobby. I saw this thing. I got a meeting. I want to show people how influence works in the subtle ways. And a lobbyist is the way to do that. And if we can get more meetings and pester politicians, maybe I could get the lobbyists to lobby the Prime Minister to come on the Punters Politics podcast. We can do anything with a lobbyist, Tom.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's just about, he's just a producer booking guests for you. I see.
Whatever the punters vote for, that's what we've got. We've got a platform. It's live at the moment. It's called Pulse. If you go to pulse.au, you can vote on what you want the lobbyists to lobby for. And leading the charge at the moment is stop giving free gas to billionaires. That's the number one that the lobbyist will be going around making it known to the politicians that, hey, this is a popular issue. Look at how many punters are behind you. The punters machine will be behind you if you ball up and take on this industry, et cetera, et cetera.
Great. All right. Well, God love you and good luck with that. So.
It's already too hot, Minister. It was 39 degrees in October.
Okay, well,
how hot does it need to get until you stop approving coal and gas projects?
I've actually come to meet some local community
It's actually a question for you, Minister.
And I've given you my answers. It's always good to be recorded when you're trying to have a discussion with people.
Yeah,
it's
well,
a very polite thing to
there's
do.
millions of Australians that want action on climate change and they want to know what you're doing about it. My question, Minister, is when are you going to stop approving coal and gas projects?
Am I allowed to have a meeting with the groups who are doing real conservation activities right here in Margate?
And we congratulate that, but you haven't answered the question.
Well,
when are you going to stop approving coal and gas projects?
We're
done with meetings. We want action.
Well, you seem to like to interrupt a lot. Would you like me to say something?
Tell me, when will you stop approving coal and gas projects?
Our government has committed to reduce our emissions, as every country around the world is required to do under the Paris Agreement. Now, I respect the fact that that might not be enough for groups like yours, but that's our position. That's the position we took to the election. We won the election. We're implementing that policy. I understand that you have a different view.
How is approving a project that will run to 2070, massive pollution, it's one of the biggest fossil fuel projects in the Southern Hemisphere, consistent with the position that you were declining your pollution?
Because at the same time, we are reducing our emissions through vehicle emission standards, converting to renewable energy, taking action.
We
in
know
agriculture.
coal and gas exports are our biggest contribution to the climate crisis. When is your government going to have a plan to deal with them?
You when you're having a conversation as well?
The Australian public deserve to know.
Yeah.
The Australian public deserve to know.
And we've had a conversation. I'd like
And I appreciate
to
that.
meet with the groups who've taken time out of their days to come and meet with us and show us the work that they're doing around turtle conservation. So thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for your time. We'd also like to know, when are you going to stop doing it? You haven't answered the question. Are you going to answer the question?
I might meet with the members of the public who'd come to meet with us.
I think they also want to know when you're going to stop approving coal and gas projects.
We're happy to have a chat with you. I work for Murray. I'm happy to have a chat with you guys.
We don't want to have a
No more
chat.
coal and gas.
We don't think we need no more coal and gas.
No more coal and gas.
All right, with a little bit more time left, I'd love to get your thoughts on, I mean, we started the conversation about Zohran Mamdani, and maybe, we're Aussie punters here. We've mainly focused on Australia, the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
But there is something in this, right? Of course, a massive political story this week. Zohran Mamdani, openly democratic socialist mayor, absolutely romping at home, beating the establishment candidate Andrew Cuomo in the primaries, and then once again when Cuomo ran as an independent in the mayoral election. I think it was one of the biggest turnouts in like 35 years or something in terms of New Yorkers voting for it. An extraordinary campaign, people-powered campaign, relentless attacks, some horrific racist Islamophobic attacks on him, some wildly bad faith allegations of anti-Semitism and a deliberate attempt to cultivate a climate of fear and hysteria, I think, about Zohran Mamdani and his politics and his position on Israel-Palestine being used to terrify members of the New York Jewish community, which is wild, despite the fact that a whole bunch of Jewish New Yorkers fully signed up to endorse and campaign for Zohran Mamdani, and in the primary at least, he did very well with the Jewish vote in that city. And he breaks through by campaigning relentlessly on affordability, on making New York a place that's affordable to live, taxing the wealthy to fund things like free and fast buses, and freezing the rent as well. These were the major sort of issues at the forefront there. I just want to, at a time of like bleakness, if you're a progressive, if you're a member of the Greens too, you might be feeling a little bit lost at the moment. It's like a pretty amazing shot in the arm that big, bold, unapologetic, populist leftist economics and politics can win in the most unlikely of scenarios, with the right kind of energy and the right kind of campaign. Have you? Did you follow it much? I know you were busy swanning it up with Bridget McKenzie and the Punters in Canberra. But what did you make of Zohran's win there?
My side hobby is US politics.
Okay.
So I crush a lot of Planet America and their 3-hour extended edition podcasts that are there. When I just need to relax, Tom, just click on America. When I want to feel good about myself, I click on American politics, and it makes me feel so much better about the situation that we're in now. And I think you're right. Like it does bring hope to someone coming along and saying this system is rigged, which is what Trump said as well. I think he's the perfect marketing lesson for everybody. Like he is a fresh face. He's friendly. He's hopeful. He's not too depressing. He learned all the right things from Donald Trump. Donald Trump learned all the right lessons from Bernie Sanders. Bernie runs along. You look at Trump 2016, you'll be shocked. He sounds like Bernie Sanders. Oh, we're not going to touch Medicare. We're going to, he even indicates lightly that he might have liked a Medicare for all option, in the early days, and he campaigned on affordability. Like there is that piece in New York that I did see where people voted for AOC and Trump, and Zohran just rocks up and goes, all right, it's going to be affordability. We're going to stay focused. We're going to be on message. We're going to show people what it can mean, what politics can mean tangibly to them. And it was so easy for him to distance himself from the bad faith attacks from millionaires, because you look at the funding, and he just points to it and goes, yeah, of course Bloomberg has given millions of dollars to this sex offender or alleged sex offender or whatever Cuomo was facing charges on. And whereas I think if you're an establishment Democrat, you can't do that. No. You are dirty, maybe not as much as someone else, doesn't matter. And Cuomo was the perfect example to be running against. The second dirtiest mayor they got? What's his name? The other guy before him was facing charges, and then Trump mysteriously dropped them because he, I don't know. It's just, it worked. It worked.
Yes, we're talking about corruption. Eric Adams was famously getting
Eric Adams, yes.
Free flights to Turkey as well. Seemed to be tied up with some bizarre corruption scandal with the Turkish government. Look, I love Eric Adams, just in terms of the kind of shit that he says. And I'm glad he's gone, and he's a terrible politician, but he did say some funny shit. He hates rats. He was very passionate about ridding New York City.
Hey, they got wheelie bins. He got the city wheelie bins, I hear. So, not all bad.
That's some wins. Yeah, I mean, I think enemies is a good way to put it. Like Zohran Mamdani, yes, he made it clear who his enemies were and pitted those enemies, those very rich, wealthy, powerful enemies who run the city, basically, and dictate how I've always assumed that they can dictate how New York runs, and sort of saying, look, these people's interests are directly against you. I welcome their hatred is also a line that Jeremy Corbyn once used when he sort of said, look at all the people who are arrayed against me. Do you think they have your best interests at heart, or me, the guy who wants to introduce, in Zohran Mamdani's case, free universal daycare and free buses and grocery stores that might actually charge you prices you can afford, and me who wants to freeze your rent? Which, again, I think is the bizarre version of Trump. Trump would regularly say, look at all these people who hate me, CNN, MSNBC, elites who, rightly or wrongly, a lot of people look down on them and have cultural superiority. Look at all these people that hate me. You hate them, right?
I must be doing something right.
I must be doing something right. That's workable.
Yeah.
So it's a leftist populist energy, and I suppose there was an interesting conversation on Lamestream podcast this week with Osman Faruqi and Scott Mitchell talking about what this might mean for the Australian left or progressive people in Australia, particularly the Australian Greens. And they were sort of making the argument the polling is showing that One Nation is surging, and in a bunch of polls the Greens are going backwards. And it seems like the Greens are kind of ceding a bit of territory or seem a little bit cautious or shy about taking on these same kind of fights and, dialing into that kind of populist energy at a time when it does seem to be working pretty well in New York with Zohran Mamdani and in the UK with Zach Polanski in the Greens. You and I were having a brief conversation about the Greens while we were prepping for the dinner, and you had some thoughts on that. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about where you think the Australian Greens are in the wake of the 2025 election and what they could be doing differently to kind of capitalise on this moment when so many people are pissed off at the status quo, and we have a Labor government that isn't delivering and is still captured by these corporate interests.
Yeah. How many people can I piss off, Tom? Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's see my Instagram blow. Because to be honest, I've never received more.
You welcome their hatred.
I welcome their hatred. Thank you. That's the line. I've never had more hate in the DMs than from some lefties in there being like, yeah. So anyway, with that being said, I think it's probably not as bad as, it doesn't look like the Greens are doing as badly as the corporate establishment narrative will say they are.
Yes.
But they're equally not surging. And they're equally not picking up what they should be picking up if they do sit left of Labor, which they do. And I remember watching the election, I thought Adam Bant walking around with a toothbrush, I was like, yeah, who doesn't want dental and Medicare? Yep. That's the thing. That's the free buses of Australia. Literally, the teeth are part of the human body. This is a simple thing that everyone can agree with, bipartisan. Yep. But honestly, Tom, I think the Greens brand is cooked. I think the Greens brand has had 30 years of propaganda against it. I think there's certain parts of the overly zealous Greens progressive movement that are slamming, maybe it's bots, I don't know, but slamming people and hating on people and calling out people and being like, you're not pure enough, coming at, hey, let's say anecdotally, coming at me. You want corruption out of politics, don't you? Why are you what's going on here? And I think that does a disservice, even if it is a small portion, because then the Sky News pick it up and they paint everyone to be this really overzealous purity culture. If you don't agree with me 110%, then you don't deserve, you're actually worse than Bridget McKenzie or whoever might sit on the other side. So I think when I look at Zoran's win, I kind of go, this is what happens when you have a fresh brand, someone unassociated, unaffiliated. They don't have time to ramp up and perfect the propaganda message like Murdoch's done for so long. So I personally think it's a branding thing, because I thought the Greens had some good progressive economic policy at the last election, and it didn't seem to hold traction. But I'm on the outside. I'm not a Greens member. I'm not the only interactions I have with Greens people is outside the polling booth when they're handing me the the bloody thing.
Do you vote for the Greens? I got to ask. You might not answer this, but I've got to ask journalistically.
It depends in which electorate I'm in. That's what I'll say.
Oh, you vote in multiple electorates every election? You do a bit of a tour, right?
I'm hoarding votes. I'm the guy that's making sure I'm stacking the deck. No, I get so nerdy with my vote where I'm like, okay, is this Labor heartland or because I was in Melbourne as well when I was living with my parents, and that was a Liberal seat. So if it's a Liberal seat or a Labor seat, I rank my votes accordingly.
Interesting. Okay, so what brand should we have then? Because I what do I think about that? I think that
tell me what you think, Tom. I hear you. I look at you, hesitate, go, interesting. And you're like, you bloody capitalist dog.
I definitely think that. I definitely think you're a capitalist dog. let's take that
my
as read.
dividend, Tom?
But no, it's interesting. I mean, we've talked endlessly about this branding issue and the allegations of the Greens becoming too extreme. And it's very hard to sort of sift through in your head, yes, again, where the good faith critiques are coming from. And I definitely count yours in the category of a good faith critique, because I think there are lots of Greens policies that you fully would like to see enacted and support. It's just sort of hard to figure out, so the same people who are telling us all the Greens have gone too extreme was saying that in the wake of the 2022 election, which was the best result the party has ever had. And this constant calling of like, oh, they're not the party of Bob Brown anymore. They need to go back. They need to be focused on the environment and more conservative and don't talk about economic or social issues. And you go, oh, okay, back when we were polling at 6 or 7%,
I think that's a dumb critique.
It's very hard to sort of ignore the electoral success and the moments when the Greens really were surging. And I was at the Greens National Conference in the wake of 2022 election, which was electric, and you felt like a party that was really alive and felt like we had a real breakthrough moment based on a more radical policy proposal, often, spearheaded by the movement of the Queensland Greens, who are many of whom are very upfront of saying we are democratic socialists, or at least we're anti-capitalist, and taking on those fights.
Whereas I think that's a loser message, by the way, like being openly anti-capitalist. It depends who you're going for. And I guess this is the thing where it's political theory, and I'm not nerdy enough to really know. I'm not a strategist, but I can understand where if you want the Overton window to shift, you do probably want those hard out, sickle wearing like socialist people being like, no, I'm a full on socialist, and then people go, well, I'm not that extreme, but I do like something, so I'm going to go in between, and then maybe the Greens sort of sit there, and it depends who you're trying to pick up. But I think if you're going for my audience, the everyday Aussie bloke that doesn't give a shit about politics, if you say I'm anti-capitalist, you're gone. Like what they think capitalism is, and I'm always like, I don't think there's one thing. I think I want a free market for my chocolate. I don't want a free market for my medicine. This is how I sort of want to pass it out. But when people hear, I'm anti-capitalist, they're like, oh, what? So I'm not allowed to make money now? Oh, you want to take all my money? I'm like, no, but that's what people think. But I'm like, if you're positioning that to try and pull the Overton window, I can understand the strategy. If you're like, when you say like, what should the Greens do? Well, do the Greens want to pick up some of the Labor vote? I just don't know like what the benefit of sitting, because as the Nationals tack as hard as they can to the right, that pulls Labor centre right. Like the Labor Party now is Malcolm Turnbull. I honestly believe it. When he passes childcare, it's privatised childcare. It's a pseudo-privatised market. That's what Malcolm Turnbull would have done. Right. Whereas the true Labor thing, I think they would have done under Bill Shorten, maybe not, because they did the NDIS, and that's also privatised disability care.
Yes.
So it's like you're privatising this stuff. This is not like, it's not a public school or a public hospital like we have, which turn out to be the most, like, yes, they're not perfect, but they're the most effective spend of money that we have, whereas the NDIS is blowing out. But no one's talking about the fact it's privatised. They're trying to blame like disabled people and people who need it to like have friends on it. Like, like they're trying to, people scam the system. And I'm like, how about you talk about the fact you privatized it? That's what it is.
Yeah, I guess there's a difference. Obviously, knocking on someone's door and saying, hey, vote for me, I'm an anti-capitalist, or I'm a socialist, comrade. Like that's not good politics.
Open with that.
You obviously need to talk in a language that people can understand. You need to explain what it means. But I suppose, the difference with Zohran Mamdani is when they say, are you a democratic socialist? He says, yes, I am. And this is why. He was asked, why are you're a democratic socialist? Because I believe in the dignity of all people. And they are demonstrating their politics through the kind of policies that they focus on, and the relentless pursuit of that. And yeah, you don't have to talk about the language of Marx and theories of the state or whatever, but you can say rich people run this country. That's fucked. We want to tax the rich people and billionaires in order to, guarantee a better life for everybody. I mean, that is, left-wing populism. That's sort of what it is. And I think that kind of more aggressive, staunch politics is the stuff that's winning and is tapping into that same energy. Like these people who might say, oh, I'm a capitalist, I want to make money, are still pretty fucked off at just how unfair and unequal our society is. So whether they subscribe that label to it or not, I think they're sort of coming to the same analysis. And I guess I would be nervous to see the Australian Greens forego that ground or not argue that point just as passionately, just because 2025 didn't go our way.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point because once again, it's like political strategy. Where do you sort of sit? And I think when it comes to labels, my theory has always, and this is just theories. I could be wrong. I'm just communicating stuff. My theory is I don't care about labels. My theory is I don't have that, and this is probably where the greenie lefties probably don't like me. Is like when they're like, "Oh, you're a democratic socialist." I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like I don't care. Like I don't necessarily need to claim that ideological purity where I'm like, I'm part of this team and I'm out and proud with what I am and I'm going to, what I just go, here's the policy and outcome I want. Do we agree on that? If the answer is yes, then we're on the team for this thing. We might disagree over here, but we can also disagree on that. And this is where, and maybe I get a bit of hate, but like Jared Rennick who was in, I think he was a senator last, I think he just lost, he's not a senator anymore. Yeah. I had a long conversation with him on my pod about tax.
Yeah.
And he's like bang on tax. He is dead right. He is explaining to me in boring, excruciating detail exactly how they offshore their costs and exactly how, and this is where I will give Jared Rennick props because yes, he doesn't believe in climate change and he doesn't want net zero, all that sort of stuff. But in the Senate, when he was voting, if there was a bill that was going to tax corporations, he would vote for it. And that's where I think I want to come back to this politics of tribes demand you to have this purity where you compromise nothing. Whereas I think I see everything as individual issues. And if I can get Jared Rennick and I was in there and like, hey, we're going to stop tax budgets siphoning their dollars offshore. He's like, all right, great. And then in the next one, he's like, I'm going to vote against net zero. I'm going to vote for net zero, whatever. And I'm like, all right, I'm probably not going to do that. So see you tomorrow.
Well, okay, that's fair enough. But I suppose the question comes back to, well, would you vote for Jared Rennick if you lived in Queensland? I mean, voting at the end of the day, and politics isn't just electoralism, and we shouldn't just think of politics in these 3 or 4 year cycles and voting. And I think we have a political and media class that focuses on that to its detriment, sure. But I mean, it is kind of a zero-sum game when it comes down to it. Yeah. And if you want to build parliamentary political power, I think political parties do have a role to play there, and that's why I encourage people to vote Greens to try and get as many Greens members as possible, so you can have a bloc potentially with the balance of power that could actually make a tangible difference in changing legislation for the better. That's my theory.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And I'm not necessarily saying there shouldn't be political parties and putting this is why preferential voting works for my theory. Because would I rank Jared Rennick above the Liberal Party? Yes, I would. Would I even potentially put him above the Labor Party? Maybe. Because I just think the Labor Party are all talk. And I'm like, well, I really genuinely think that Jared Rennick is going to do this thing on this issue that I want.
He's actually crazy. This is actually crazy, man. Is dedicated.
He might actually do what he says on this issue, and I believe him. Whereas the Labor Party, they say it all the time, but then don't do it. So would I? So the question with preferential voting is like, yes, I do. When you ask me where do I rank him, is he number one? No, but do I want him over the Queensland Liberal Party? Yes, I do, definitely. so I guess that's always the question.
Great. Well, there we go, everyone. An endorsement for Jared Rennick on the Serious Danger podcast.
You can clip that, send it around your groups and things. But I think finally to your question of like what I think the Greens should do. I've always had this idea as it's always good to give advice when you're just from the sidelines. Like, this is good advice. It could be wrong.
Welcome to political podcasting, yes.
Yeah, this is great, isn't it? I think the Greens should have an offshoot brand or a sub-brand or something where it's like the logo is camo, it's active camo, the Greens, and it's appealing to farmers, hunters, shooters, fishers, fall drivers, mountain bikers, recreational people, anyone who uses the bush for recreation. Because right now they're picked up by the nationals who, I think are selling out. I think they're selling out their rural communities by being, oh no, you can dig coal forever. No, you bloody can't. Your community is going to be stiffed if you listen to these guys. And I think if this part of the Greens would ditch the ideological purity that shuts down all of the bush from everybody and puts up with superficial damage from four-wheel drivers, from mountain bikers like me, from, people that, might ride motorbikes or something through the bush, we can all band together. The more people that use it, the more people can love it. And those people, I have my neighbors, four-wheel drivers, fixing them all the time. They love the bush. They care about it. Yes, they'd make some damage when they drive on the track, but they don't drive off the track. And if we all band together and stop deforestation, that's the thing that really matters. And I think that's a powerful Australian voting bloc that says we want the bush for us. Because I think the Greens branding, the amount of conversations I've had so much where they go, oh, those bloody Greens locking us out of the bush from my four-wheel drive mates. I'm like, the Greens have never held power in New South Wales. They're not the ones that did it, right? You know that, right? But they don't know that. And so I think the branding should be four-wheel driving. Yep, we want more free camping. Yep, we want more of state forest unlocks for recreational use, et cetera, et cetera. That would be my pitch. Hate me.
I'll run it up the flagpole. I'll call Larissa after this.
Yeah, please do.
This is the end.
All right, we will leave it there for this week, but it's been a delight talking to you, dear Konrad. Punters Politics is the place to go. You can find out more about the People's Lobbyists. You can, of course, listen to the Punters Politics podcast as well. Anything else you want to plug where people can check out your work and support the stuff you're doing, Konrad?
No, that's it. Any social media you have, that's where I am. See you there.
You are fucking everywhere, I must say, yes.
Yeah, and, I can't rely on just one billionaire. I need to be in all the baskets.
Thanks so much for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Great chat.
Serious danger to Australia.